A fellow by the name of Cody Parrott, or Perot, I suppose, but it's probably Parrott, went after me a few days ago, and he asked me, how do you explain Deuteronomy 4:2 and Revelation 22:18 and 19, also Psalm 12:6 and 7? And I'm like, that sounds really, really familiar to me for lots of reasons. Mainly, it's sort of a mixture of text here, because Deuteronomy 4:2 is a text that we will normally utilize in talking with, at least laying a foundation and talking with Mormons. You shall not add to the word which I am commanding you, nor take away from it, that you may keep the commandments of Yahweh your God, which I command you. And this was in the context of the textual critical issue. So I've had King James onlyists use this. And so if you don't have the long writing of Mark, you're taking away from the word of God, therefore you're taking away from the word you've commanded you, blah, 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 blah. And obviously, we don't believe we're taking anything away, because we don't believe that it's what the Lord your God commanded you in the first place. The issue is not the establishment of a later text as a standard by which everyone else is to be judged. But again, I want to know what Mark wrote or John wrote in chapter 7, or what Paul wrote, or what was originally in the book of Hebrews. I want the apostolic witness, not something that came much, much later. I'm not a person who thinks that church history is irrelevant and hence dismisses the text that was used in the early church as being an irrelevant thing. And so the same thing is true with the Revelation chapter 22 text, and we're not even talking about where Erasmus might have made some mistakes with that. But I testify to everyone who hears the words of the prophecy of this book. If anyone adds to them, God will add to him the plagues which are written in this book. And if anyone takes away from the words of the book of this prophecy, God will take away his part from the tree of life and from the holy city, which are written in this book. And evidently the idea being, well, that has something to do with the Textus Receptus or something along those lines. Actually, it doesn't have anything to do with the Bible as a whole. It's very, very common for people to cite these texts, and we did back in the day when we first started dealing with Mormonism, until you did some meaningful exegesis. This is about the book of Revelation first and foremost. It is about the book of Revelation and saying, do not add or take away from this particular book. And because it's at the end of the Bible, people automatically go, whole thing. And I know people that would defend that as I can't defend it in that way. I don't think it's possible to do so consistently, but there are people who would. But again, it has nothing to do with the textual issue. The issue we want to know is, what did John write in the book of Revelation originally? And one thing we do know is that of all the sections of the Textus Receptus, the most corrupt, the book that has least claim to represent John's original words, is the Textus Receptus version of Revelation. There's no question about that. None. Documentable. Documentable. Beyond all question. But I do want to look at Psalm 12, because this is a very often misused text, in my opinion. And I do believe I addressed this in the King James only controversy. It's been quite some time, but I believe it is there. The words of Yahweh are pure words, as silver tried in a furnace on the earth, refined 7 times. O Yahweh, you, O Yahweh, will keep them. You will preserve him from this generation forever. And then one of my commonly cited verses right at the end, the wicked strut about on every side when what is vile is exalted amongst the sons of men. That's a description of everything we're experiencing today. So King James onlyists especially will cite this, and because they start where they do, they go, well, the words of the Lord are pure words, the silver tried in the furnace on the earth, refined 7 times. You, O Lord, will keep them, and the them is the words of the Lord. But then it says, you will preserve him from this generation forever, and all of a sudden it's like, what? And this is what happens when you cite things in outside their context. This is actually talking about evil people. If you go back, help Yahweh, for the godly man ceases to be, for the faithful disappear from among the sons of men. They speak falsehood to one another, with flattering lips and with a double heart they speak. May Yahweh cut off all flattering lips, the tongue that speaks great things, who have said, with our tongue we will prevail, our lips are our own, who is Lord over us? That's an incredible statement there, who is Lord over us? Because the devastation of the afflicted, because of the groaning of the needy, now I will arise, says Yahweh. I will set him in the safety for which he longs. So you have evil men, and then you have the afflicted, and it's not class-based, it's sin-based. I will set him in the safety for which he longs, and the words of the Lord are pure words. That is his promise that he will rescue the afflicted. As silver tried in a furnace on the earth, refined 7 times, you, O Lord, will keep them, that is the afflicted. You will preserve him, the needy, from this generation forever. That's what it's talking about when you read it in context. It's not a providential preservation verse. Sorry, it's just not in context. You have to twist it to try to make it fit your perspective. And so it went on from there to repeat your standard stuff that you get from, again, King James only sources, and yet this is being utilized within the traditional text, ecclesiastical text type of a context. Like it says, the Jehovah's Witness Bible is built off of Codex Aleph and Codex Vaticanus, thus making it a Roman Catholic translation. New World Translation is based upon the 1881 Westcott and Hort text, which was deeply over-influenced by Sinaiticus and Vaticanus. What does that have to do with Rome? How does that make that a Roman Catholic translation? Aside from, Westcott was a much more conservative theologian than Hort was. And they were 19th century Anglicans, but they weren't Roman Catholics. So what does that have to do with Roman Catholic translation? It's the same mindset that we get out of King James onlyism, and yet it's appearing in what's allegedly not King James onlyism, but in many ways mirrors that. So